In our modern world, we live under a grand illusion, the belief that complexity equals security. We assume that because a platform like Twitter is valued at billions of dollars and serves as the global town square, it must be guarded by impenetrable digital shields. We imagine rooms full of elite security experts monitoring every packet of data. But on July 15, 2020, that illusion didn't just glitch, it shattered. The world didn't witness a failure of code. It witnessed a human system failure. When the accounts of Barack Obama, Elon Musk, and Bill Gates began posting amateurish Bitcoin scams, the public's first instinct was geopolitical terror. Was this a declaration of war, a global coup? The truth was far more unsettling. The person holding the world's elite hostage wasn't a state-sponsored hacker or a military general. He was a 17-year-old kid from Tampa, Florida, sitting in his bedroom. This is the anatomy of the God Mode hack, a story that proves the most powerful system in existence isn't the code, it is trust. But what if that trust was already broken? To understand the why, we must go where the general public never ventures, ogunusers.com. In the dark corners of the internet, this forum serves as a marketplace for digital status. Here, the currency isn't just money, it's the rarity of your identity. Usernames like OVA, 6, or ACE are known as OG, original gangster accounts. They are short, clean, and carry immense prestige. In this subculture, a single-letter handle is a digital diamond, often sold for tens of thousands of dollars. But this wasn't just about usernames. There was something deeper going on. For the hackers in this story, Graham Evan Clark, known as Kirk, Nima Fazeli, Rolex, and Mason Shepard Chiwan, the goal wasn't to collapse the global economy. Their motive was primitive: greed and ego. Graham started as a SIM swapper, a specialized thief who steals phone numbers to hijack Instagram handles. But Graham was more ambitious. He didn't want to just steal a few accounts. He wanted to own the source of identity itself. He wanted the ability to create and destroy any persona on Twitter at will. One of the most overlooked details of this heist is that it didn't start with a phone call. It started with active reconnaissance. Weeks before the main attack, Graham managed to gain access to Twitter's internal communication tools, specifically their Slack channels. Imagine a teenager sitting in his room, silently reading the private messages of Twitter's engineers. He wasn't looking for encryption keys, he was studying the human infrastructure. He read new employee handbooks, monitored IT support tickets, and learned the specific technical lingo the staff used. He discovered who had the highest levels of access and what tools they used to manage the platform. By the time he made his first move, he knew more about Twitter's internal workflows than many of its actual employees. He wasn't just an intruder, he had become a shadow employee. And that's what made it so dangerous. This is the chapter Twitter's PR team wants to bury. In July 2020, the world was in a pandemic lockdown. Twitter's security protocols were designed for a centralized office, not thousands of employees working from their bedrooms, distracted and isolated. Graham used a technique called vishing, voice phishing. He picked up his phone and called a Twitter employee in the help desk department. He didn't sound like a hacker. He sounded like a stressed-out IT manager from a different branch. "Hey, we're having a sync issue with the internal VPN node in the Florida office. I need you to re-verify your credentials on the temporary portal so we can restore the link." And this is where everything started to collapse. He directed the employee to a fake internal login page he had designed to look identical to the real one. The employee, wanting to be helpful and solve a technical problem, bypassed years of security training. They entered their username, password, and most crucially, their two-factor authentication 2FA token. In that precise second, the trust meter hit zero. Graham Clark had successfully hacked the most advanced software in the world, the human brain, once Graham entered the internal network. But what he found inside wasn't supposed to be accessible. He found the Holy Grail, the internal service tool. To a security expert, this dashboard was a nightmare. To Graham, it was a playground. The tool was designed for legitimate customer support, but it granted godlike powers over the database. From this dashboard, Graham could search for any handle on the platform. Once he pulled up a profile, even one as high profile as Apple, he had absolute control. The most dangerous feature was the update email button. By changing the registered email of an account to one he controlled, Graham could trigger a password reset that bypassed all of the user's security settings. It didn't matter if you had a physical security key or the most complex password in the world. In the eyes of Twitter's database, Graham was now the owner. He wasn't cracking the door, he was rewriting the laws of the house, and just like that, ownership could be stolen in seconds. As the breach unfolded, Graham wasn't working in a vacuum. He was in a private Discord chat with his partners, Rolex and Chiwan. The logs from this chat, later recovered by the FBI, reveal a chilling level of casualness. "I can get any account," Kirk bragged. They started by fulfilling orders for rare handles. They seized B and Joe and sold them for thousands of dollars in Bitcoin. But as the money poured in, Graham's ego began to swell. Selling usernames was small time. He wanted to see just how much influence he could exert. This was no longer about money. He moved from niche usernames to the most powerful voices on the planet. He decided to turn the blue checkmark, the global symbol of verified truth, into a tool for a massive high-speed scam. And that's when the scale of the attack changed. The first shot was fired. Elon Musk's account tweeted, "I'm feeling generous. I will double any Bitcoin payments sent to the address below." Within minutes, the dominoes fell in a terrifying sequence. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Apple, Uber. But the world still didn't understand what was happening. Then the heavy hitters, Barack Obama and Joe Biden. The world went into a collective state of social proof paralysis. Because the tweets came from verified accounts, thousands of people ignored their common sense. While the world's media was trying to figure out if a war had started, Graham was watching his Bitcoin wallet explode. In just 3 hours, he received over 400 transactions totaling more than $120,000. For those 3 hours, a teenager was the most powerful narrator on Earth. He controlled the output of the world's leaders, and the world was listening. Inside Twitter's HQ in San Francisco, it was pure, unadulterated code red. The engineers realized they didn't just have a leak, they had lost right access to their own platform. Every time they manually deleted a scam tweet, Graham's script would repost it using God mode in seconds. In a move that cost the company billions in market value, CEO Jack Dorsey authorized the nuclear option. They disabled the tweet button for every verified account on the planet. For several hours, the global town square went silent. It was a formal admission of defeat. Twitter had to kill its own product to stop a single intruder. The silence was a stark reminder of how fragile our digital discourse truly is. Graham thought he was a ghost because he used Bitcoin. This is perhaps the greatest myth in modern crime. Bitcoin is not anonymous, it is pseudonymous. Every transaction is etched into a public ledger for eternity. The FBI and the IRS Criminal Investigation Unit used blockchain analysis to track the stolen funds. They watched the 12.8 Bitcoins flow from the scam address into various mixers, tools used to obfuscate the path of money. But eventually, Graham wanted to spend the money. He transferred a portion of the funds to a Coinbase account. He believed that because he had outsmarted Twitter, he was untouchable by a simple verification check. He was wrong. The FBI now had a name, a photo, and a GPS location. On July 31, 2020, federal agents surrounded a modest apartment in Tampa. They didn't find a high-tech lab, they found a kid. They seized his primary gaming computer, which contained the Discord logs, the login tokens for Twitter's service tool, and the remains of the Bitcoin heist. The arrest made headlines worldwide. Graham Clark was facing 30 felony counts. The legal battle that followed highlighted a massive gap in the justice system. How do we punish a minor who has committed a crime of global magnitude? This is where the story takes a controversial turn. Despite the fact that Graham's hack was a matter of national security, he was not prosecuted in a federal court. His legal team utilized a specific loophole in Florida law. By keeping the case in a state court, they managed to negotiate a plea deal that many called a slap on the wrist. Graham was sentenced to 3 years in a juvenile facility, followed by 3 years of probation. The most significant part of his sentence, however, was the digital death penalty. He is banned from using any computer without strict government supervision for the rest of his life. The boy who once had God mode over the world is now legally disconnected from the very world he conquered. We must reflect on how lucky we were. Graham was a greedy teenager, not a political operative. If these same credentials had fallen into the hands of a state-sponsored intelligence agency, The result could have been catastrophic. Imagine a fake declaration of war published from a nuclear-armed leader's account. In the 30 minutes it would take to debunk the tweet, the world could have been in an irreversible kinetic conflict. Or imagine the mass leakage of private direct messages, DMs, belonging to every world leader and CEO. The blackmail potential alone could have reshaped global politics for decades. We didn't survive because our security was good. We survived because the attackers' ambitions were small. The hack forced a total philosophical shift in Silicon Valley. Giants like Google, Facebook, and Apple realized that their internal tools were their biggest liability. They moved toward an architecture called Zero Trust. This means that no employee, regardless of their rank, is trusted by default. Twitter dismantled the centralized God mode dashboard and split the permissions into fragments, ensuring that no single person could ever exert that much power again. It took a teenager to teach the world's smartest engineers that security is not a wall, it's a process of constant suspicion. As we look back from the year 2026, the Graham Clark hack feels like a warning from a simpler time. Today, with generative AI, a hacker doesn't need to be a good actor. They can use deepfake audio to mimic the exact voice, cadence, and internal jargon of any executive. The human hack has been automated. We are moving into an era where you cannot trust the voice on the other end of the line, even if it sounds exactly like your manager. Graham Clark showed us the door. AI has now blown it off the hinges. The story of the Twitter Leviathan is a cosmic reminder that as we build faster and more complex systems, we become more vulnerable to the simplest things. We are the biological software running the world, and we are full of bugs. Graham Clark didn't find a flaw in the code, he found a flaw in us. He proved that the most powerful system in existence is not the firewall. It is the human heart and its willingness to trust. In this digital space-time, we are all connected, and we are all exposed. Next time you see a blue check mark or hear a confident voice on the phone, ask yourself, is this the truth, or am I just the next target of a human hack? Protect your consciousness. The next God mode exploit might be targeting you.